Hi everyone, so today's lesson is on operations with polynomials, okay? We have learned this already, but now we are just gonna use it with polynomials, okay? So the three operations that we're gonna focus on today are addition, subtraction, and multiplication, okay? We are leaving division for its own day. So these are pretty simple, just like we learned in the quadratics lesson when we complete operations. What we're doing for this first one, we are adding. So I'm gonna put a little plus sign here, okay? And I'm gonna point to the addition sign in between, okay? Now, when we add, the first step is just to drop the parentheses, okay? You guys should be remembering this. We've learned this a couple times already, okay? So we're just dropping the parentheses and writing whatever's left. So x squared plus 3x minus 5 plus 2x squared minus 7x plus 11. Notice here, I did not change any signs. They all stay the same, okay? Step 2 is to then just combine like terms, okay? And remember, like terms, we have to look at exponents because that's super important. So, like terms here are 2x squared plus 1x squared, which gives me 3x squared. Then I have 3x minus 7x, which gives me a negative 4x. And then last is negative 5 plus 11, which gives me a positive 6, okay? Now, it's important that we always write our answer in standard form. Now, in some cases, you are going to have a bigger exponent than 2, okay? Sometimes your exponent may be 5, 6, 7, or 8, whatever it may be, okay? It could be really any number. But how we write our final answer, so that our final answer would be something like this, is the biggest exponent term goes first, and then it goes from greatest to least. That's how we write our answers, okay? And then the biggest exponent goes first. Sorry, I forgot. Mid-thought, I forgot to write that down, okay? And the term that's always last is the term that doesn't have a variable. So if there is a term with no letter, that term always goes last, okay? So I want you to pause and try numbers 1 and 2, and then you're gonna come back because I'm gonna do them out for the answers, okay? So go ahead and pause. Now that you're back, we're gonna go ahead and complete some of these problems. So we're just gonna give you guys the answers. So I see a plus sign here, okay? So that means I'm adding. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just going to drop the terms out of the parenthesis, okay? All of the signs stay the same. So that was step 1. Step 2 is just to combine your like terms, okay? So in this case, I have 4x squared plus 2x squared, which gives me 6x squared. Then I have 2x minus 5x, which gives me a negative 3x. And then I have negative 9 minus 3, which gives me a negative 12, okay? Notice how my biggest exponent is first, and my term without a variable comes last, okay? Here again, I notice an addition sign, so I'm just dropping everything out of the parentheses. The parentheses are going away, okay? Then all I do is just combine like terms, okay? So negative 2x squared, and be careful because this and these are not like terms, so we're just gonna write them in standard form. Notice how my term without a letter goes last, okay? Now, that was addition, okay? So pretty simple. You guys should be able to hang in there pretty okay, all right? Now, the second thing is subtracting. So I'm gonna put a little negative sign here. And the steps to subtraction are step 1, because we see a negative in the middle, we need to flip the signs of each term in the second parenthesis. Okay, so that's what we're gonna do. So my first parenthesis just drops out, stays the same. No signs are flipping. Now what I need to do is I need to flip the sign of a positive 3x. So that becomes a negative 3x. Now I have a negative 2, so I need to flip the sign, and that leaves me with a positive 2. And then the second step and the final step is just to combine like terms. okay? And in this case, my like terms are 5x minus 3x, which gives me 2x, and then 7 plus 2, which gives me 9, okay? Same thing, the order goes from greatest to least, but that's our exponent, okay? You have to look for the exponent. And the term that has no variable always goes last, okay? So you guys are gonna go ahead and pause this video and go do a number 3 and 4. And when you're done, you can replay the video and see the answers. So go ahead and pause. Okay, now that you're back, we're gonna go over the answers. So I see a negative sign, right? So I know I need to flip the sign of every term in that second parenthesis. So the first thing I'm gonna do is just keep my first terms in my first parenthesis. The signs do not change. Now I need to go to the second parenthesis and flip my signs. So I had a positive 2x, so now I have a negative 2x squared. I had a negative 5x, so now I have a positive 5x. I had a positive 3, so now I have a negative 3. And then you're just going to combine your like terms. So 9x minus 2x is 7x squared. Negative x plus 5x gives me a positive 4x. And then 5 minus 3 is 2. And that is your answer. Okay? Now, in my second one, I see a negative sign again, right? So I know that I need to flip the signs of my second parenthesis. My first parenthesis just drops out. Negative 2x squared plus 4x plus 8. Now, I have a negative 5x squared, so now I'm going to have a positive 5x squared. I have a negative 3x, so now I have a positive 3x. I have a positive 7, so now I have a negative 7. Okay? And then we're just going to combine our like terms. So negative 2x squared plus 5x squared gives me 3x squared. Then I have a 4x plus 3x, which gives me 7x. And then 8 minus 7, which gives me a positive 1. And those are my answers, okay? So the addition and subtraction are pretty simple. We've already learned them like a couple hundred times. So this should just be reviewing, and now there's just a little bit more terms, okay? So now we are on to multiplication, and this is where the new kind of lesson kind of comes into play. Okay, so we're gonna use, this is multiplication, and we're still gonna use the box method, but now the box method is gonna grow, okay? So I see that I have 3 terms in my second parenthesis. So I know that because I have 3 terms, I need to make 3 boxes. So what I mean by that is 1, 2, and 3. And then because I have 2 terms, I'm gonna draw 1 line to split it up. Okay, so whatever parenthesis has the bigger number of terms, that's gonna go on top. Okay, so for example, for this first one, x squared plus 3x plus 2. So notice, I put the bigger terms, the bigger parenthesis that has the most terms on top. Okay, and then I'm gonna use the first parenthesis with the 2 terms, so this one, and put it on the side. Okay, now we are using the same idea as the box method that we've already learned, but now we just have more boxes to multiply. Okay, so in this first box, we are going to multiply 2x times x squared, and we are going to get 2x cubed. Okay, you have to remember to add your exponents. So when you multiply variables, you have to add the exponents. Okay? So 2x times x squared gives me 2x cubed. Then I'm going to multiply 2x times 3x and get 6x squared. Then I'm going to multiply 2x times 2, and this gives me a positive 4x. Then I drop down to my second row, okay? And I have negative 1 times x squared, which gives me a negative x squared. Then I have a negative 1 times 3x, which gives me a negative 3x. And then a negative 1 times 2, which gives me a negative 2. Okay? So now that my boxes are complete, I need to go ahead and draw the z method. Okay? And this tells me which rows I can write, how I write them, the order I write them in. If you don't like the Z method, you can just remember that you write all of the first terms in the first row and then all of the terms in the second row, okay? So I'm gonna do that. So the first thing I'm gonna write down is 2x cubed plus 6x squared plus 4x. Then I'm gonna go down to my second row and see that I have negative x squared minus 3x minus 2, okay? And then your last step is just to combine like terms. So your 2x cubed drops down because there's no like terms there. Then I need to combine 6x squared minus 5x squared, which gives me a positive 5x squared. Then I have a positive 4x minus 3x, which gives me a positive 1x. And then the negative 2 drops down, okay, because there's no like terms. Now, notice, my exponents go from greatest to least, right? With the 2 that has no variable being last, okay? Now, we are going to do numbers 5 and 6 together. We are not completing number 7, so don't worry about number 7, okay? All right, let me zoom in so I have more room. Now this one is set up just like the first one. So I see that I have a parenthesis with 3 terms. So on top, I need to know that I need to make more boxes for 3 terms. And on the side, I only have 2. So I need to make boxes for only 2 terms. Okay? The first set of parentheses is the bigger parenthesis, the bigger term is going on top. So x squared minus x minus 6. On the left is going to go x and a positive 3. Okay, and now we're just going to multiply. So in this first box, we have x times x squared. If you need to put a little 1 here, you can. Okay, so x times x squared, I'm adding my exponents, and 1 plus 2 gives me x cubed. Okay, then I'm going to multiply x times negative x, which gives me a negative x squared, because technically there's a little 1 there. Okay, then I have to multiply x times negative 6, which gives me a negative 6x. Then I drop down to the bottom, and I do 3 times x squared, which gives me a positive 3x squared. Then I do 3 times negative x, which gives me a negative 3x. And then the last one is 3 times negative 6, which gives me a negative 18. Okay, and then I'm going to write them down in the rows. So I'm going to write all those terms first in row 1, and then in row 2. So I have x cubed minus x squared minus 6x plus 3x squared minus 3x minus 18. Okay, so I'm just writing them in order. Then what I need to do is combine my like terms. My x cubed just drops down because there's no other like terms with that. Then I have negative x squared plus 3x squared, and that gives me a plus 2x squared. And then I combine negative 6 and negative 3, which gives me a negative 9x. And then my 18 just drops down because there's no like terms. Again, notice my answer went from 3 to 2 to here to a term with no variable. Okay, that's how we write those. That's super, super important. All right, let's go on to number 6. Now, here is a little bit different because you notice that you have 3 terms in one parenthesis and 3 terms in the other parenthesis. So we need to make a box big enough that I could fit 3 terms on the left and 3 terms on the top. Okay? Now, when you have parentheses that are both the same amount of terms, the first one always goes on top. So x squared plus 2x plus 3. And then on the side, we have 3x squared minus 5x minus 1. Okay? Now, I know there's a lot of boxes and there's a lot of work, but we have to do it. Okay? So this will keep, the box method keeps you very organized. Okay? So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to multiply 3x times x, 3x squared times x squared. And this gives me a 3x to the 4th because I have to add my exponents, which is 2 and 2. Okay? Then I'm coming to my second box. I need to multiply 3x squared times 2x. And 3 times 2 is 6. And I have x squared times x, which gives me a positive 6x cubed. Then 3x squared times 3, which gives me a positive 9x squared. And then I could drop down to my second line, okay, my second row. So now I have a negative 5x times x squared, which gives me a negative 5x cubed. Then I'm going to say negative 5x times positive 2x, which gives me a negative 10x squared, right? Because I have to add my exponents. Then I have a negative 5x times a 3, which gives me a negative 15x. Okay? And then I'm going to drop down to the last row, and we are going to multiply. Negative 1 times x squared gives me a negative x squared. If you want to write a 1, you can. Then I have negative 1 times a positive 2x, which gives me a negative 2x. And then a negative 1 times a positive 3, which gives me a negative 3. Okay? Now, I know that you have a lot of numbers here, right? So what we have to do is we're going to label my first row, second row, and third row. And that's the order that you're going to write them in. So 1, 2, 3. So 3x to the fourth plus 6x cubed plus 9x squared. Then down to our second column, negative 5x cubed minus 10x squared minus 15x. Then to the last column, negative 1x squared minus 2x minus 3. Okay? And now we need to combine our like terms. That's all that's left. Okay? I know there's a lot of terms, so try and keep yourself organized. So I know that there's no other term that has a exponent of 4, so my 3x to the fourth is just dropping down. Then I need to combine everything with a cubed. So these are my two like terms that are x to the third, or x cubed. Okay? So 6x cubed minus 5x cubed just gives me a 1x cubed. Then I have 9x squared, negative 10x squared, and negative 1x squared. So I'll circle them for you so you guys can see. Okay? And 9x squared minus 10x squared is negative 1x squared. And then we have to do negative 1x squared with this negative 1x squared, which gives me a negative 2x squared. Okay? And then we have negative 15x minus 2x, which gives me a negative 17x. And then my negative 3 just drops down. Okay? Notice how my exponents are going from greatest to least. And the last term that I have there has no variable. Okay? So if you have to go back and watch that one, you can. I know it can be a little bit confusing. All right? But that is our lesson for today, okay? You're going to have a worksheet. The front page of the worksheet is all addition and subtraction. The back side of the worksheet is all multiplication. Okay? If you have any questions, let me know.